let me talk about Gassama first. Let me talk about Djeidi
Mhm.
first, because when he first came in, we had this player that had this unbelievable raw talent. Like, he could clearly play, clearly knew how to work a football, and what we had was this player that kept running into trouble. Kept, he was one of Danny's early signings. We got him from Paris Saint-Germain at 19 years old, and he kept running into trouble and then hitting the byline. And there was no end product whatsoever. And a lot of people talk about quality end product. He just didn't have one. He'd hit the deck, or he'd run into a big 6 foot centre back. Who just stop him in his tracks, and he didn't really know how to deal with that, because he's not really played blood and guts thunder, even at the reserves at Paris Saint-Germain, right? So
Yeah.
what Danny did, one of his big successes, specifically in that second season he had, where we finished mid-table, which was great for us, by the way, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. What Danny did do was make a real player out of Gassama. There was this good 3 or 4 month period over Christmas. It started about this time last year, where he was absolutely outstanding, and we had a player that could play football. I feel like the issue is with Russell Martin, as the pressure built. Players like Gassama are a luxury to a manager under fire, if that makes sense. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't really let somebody express himself. And that's what Danny did with Gassama. He let him go, do you know what, Jed? Crack on, son. We'll keep
Yeah.
it tight at the back. You can do what you do. And some of the performances he put in were absolutely incredible. And the goals are what you'd call Iron Robin goals, if you're old enough to remember how every goal he scored. They were all the same, you know what I mean? The ones where he'd go marauding down the wing, cut inside, and slap one in the far beans on toast. Absolutely brilliant. In terms of Russell Martin and Danny Röhl and the tactical changes, it's ironic that he's replacing Russell Martin. It's ironic, because that was the catalyst of the fallout of that was the start of Danny Röhl falling out of love with Sheffield Wednesday. Danny Röhl had previously worked at Southampton. Russell Martin got his marching orders down there, and then he wanted to go. And then the chairman had tied him up in a really tight contract, like one of those 90s mobile phone Vodafone contracts. And so what that did was sully that relationship as a result. And that's where it started to fall apart. So the irony of him now going to Rangers to be reunited with one of his greatest successes in terms of developing a player and finally replacing Russell Martin, the irony is not wasted on me.